All right, best of 5. Familiar one as well. In the top left, it is Clem. In the bottom right, it is MaxPax. Most recently, these two did play in the DreamHack Regionals. It was an exciting best of 3. MaxPax did win 2-1. Spoiler alert, sorry guys. And then before that, Clem won in a best of 3 Open Cup. Before that, it was MaxPax. Before that, it was MaxPax. Before that, it was MaxPax. Before that, it was Clem. And then it was Clem. And then it was MaxPax. And then it was Clem. So in the last year, MaxPax does have a slightly better record against Clem, but it is pretty back and forth. We could literally go into 2022, and then let's put 10 here. So since October 2022, MaxPax has won 11 matches to Clem's 6. But the games, 28 games for MaxPax, 22 for Clem. So still very close. So I guess we should favor him a little bit. But MaxPax has been hot and cold, hit or miss, whatever you want to call it, with his TvP. Sometimes he seems like he's the Messiah, the Jesus, the Savior, the good Savior, not the bad Savior, of Protoss. He shows the way. He shows you how to win. He parts the seas for you. Well, that's not Jesus. But anyways. And then other times, he does look quite bad. Like, well, I probably shouldn't compare it to, like, I can't go along with this continued religion analogy. I think it's just going to get me into hot water. But the point is, sometimes it looks really bad. Sometimes it looks really good. And most recently, I think he was not very impressive. Like, literally last week. Whatever I cast him with, I don't remember. So, I don't know which one showed up today. MaxPax won against Showtime and Rainer's Random and Kelazur. So Kelazur being proof of his TvP today, I suppose, but then Kelazur never really is able to kill MaxPax all that often, whether he's hot or cold anyways. It's much more important when MaxPax is up against the likes of Clem and Hiramarine, the top 2 Terrans of the European scene. Then it's a real question of whether he's playing really well or just kind of meh. Zealot appears and does find Clem without a bunker, so this is already a little bit awkward. 3 Marines are enough to dance around the Zealot. This is old school Brood War micro going on right there, but not so much against the Adept. Fortunately, the bunker does finish. The SCV is even saved, and the wall is up. So far, so good. With 5 Marines, the 1 Adept will not stand a chance. And it looks like Clem has successfully defended the initial attack of MaxPax. It's a little pokey poke, but if you do it wrong, you can suddenly get snowballed upon. Two Adepts is a little bit trickier, but still. Oh, the 1 SCV gonna get saved again! Oh, and he didn't even get that last shot in the Marine. Clem winning all of these little micro battles. Nicely done. Third CC build from Clem as well. Very dangerous thing to do, actually, if MaxPax was going to be going into a Twilight Council 4-gate Blink build, which we know he loves. And this third CC decision would have had to have been made around the supply of 22, right? Because that's when you could get your second gas geyser. So this is not a reaction to seeing like how many Adepts were made, for instance, which was only 2, not even 3, which would usually accompany Stargate. It is actually within the realms of possibility that MaxPax followed all of that aggression up with the Twilight Council, and the Twilight Council 4-gate Blink would have been difficult for Clem to hold, even though he would have emphasized tank production and bunker production. But he's not even doing any scouting, right? So now is the first time that he's seen, in fact, that it is a Phoenix opener. Perhaps he was clued into it because of the early game aggression. Perhaps MaxPax only ever does 1 Zealot to Adept into Phoenix. I'm not quite sure, but Clem has certainly picked up on it, and we would have really known for sure if Clem was just auto-predicting this, if he had a starport and was building a Viking, but he doesn't, so it's a little ambiguous, but a Cyclone instead of further tank production seems like it was a confident stance against the whole Twilight Council idea, and it was totally right. It was totally on point. MaxPax is going to be going into a 2-base Colossus build. Perhaps it's also the preferred build on this map. I'm not sure. Clem definitely a lot more intimate with the build orders of MaxPax than I am, having played against it. I just cast the damn thing. Phoenix does get a little injured, but so far so good. What's really disappointing for MaxPax is that, well, everything's been a disappointment so far, actually. His early aggression was a disappointment. His follow-up was a disappointment because Clem seemed to be so on top of it with the Cyclone positioning. And then his scouting is also a disappointment because he scouts his opponent as a third CC, in which he can do nothing to punish it. He'd have to do a ton of harassment, which would be very difficult to do since Clem, all he has to do is defend. So, you know, these Phoenix should never get more than 2 or 3 SCV kills, if that. Which means MaxPax is just behind. I mean, still only ahead by 2 workers. Third Nexus only a little over halfway done. I mean, he'll have a decent army, I suppose. And, you know, good positioning, a couple of good force fields, good tracking of the army, so on and so forth. Perhaps MaxPax still is okay in this game. I don't want to call it the game over right here, right now. But it should not be good for MaxPax. He should be in a very tough position when Clem is first ready to move out. And then maybe Clem walks face first into a couple of laser beams and loses all of his Marines. You know, maybe. Phoenix is doing what they do best, trying to get that harassment in, trying to get whatever they possibly can. In that case, they were looking for a Marauder kill. Couldn't even do that. Medivacs will be out, and that'll be the next target probably for the Phoenix, of which there are 8. Phoenix can definitely kill a unit pretty quickly most of the time. Not a Marauder, apparently. The MaxPax is on 3 bases, 60 probes, has never had an income advantage. Okay, maybe a little bit right there, but you can see Clem's still rocking it. Not the most severe difference between the two, but it's still not a good sign for the Protoss. A better sign when you're going into Phoenix Colossus, I suppose. If MaxPax was going Mass Stalker Charge Lot, that type of economic disparity would be terrible for the Protoss. But I guess it's livable when you're playing this style. The MaxPax also doesn't have any upgrades. Forge only just finished up. Clem's already working his way onto that armor, having completed the weapons. Clem also managed to, I guess, yeah, definitely looks like it, get an army across the map without the Phoenix noticing. A couple of pylons are going to give MaxPax that very necessary warning. Absolutely worth planting at least one of these pylons down. As it is 2, he will be supply blocked. That's a little funny. And that's not Clem's entire army. So yeah, this doesn't look that bad, does it? But here comes the rest of it. The Phoenix are tracking it. MaxPax has to be so freaking careful with how he defends. His 6 gateways aren't quite yet done. His 3rd Colossus not quite with the army. Shield battery needs to be protected to help protect the army as well. And it looks like MaxPax will track the army well enough to be in position. Because that's really the first test for him, isn't it? It's a much more difficult balancing act for MaxPax right now. It's not impossible, but he is up there on the tight wire with that rod for whatever reason, on a tricycle, no, unicycle, that's the one, on a unicycle. And, you know, at any point he could fall to his death. Because the circus is in, like, 1920s Soviet Russia and doesn't have a net under it, okay? So, pretty freaking scary. But the best Protoss can do that balancing act. So far, MaxPax is living. Clem thriving on a 3-base setup so easily, now able to focus entirely on his engagements, which is really scary with his micro. A great split of units so far for MaxPax. As long as he doesn't engage into this, right? Defensively, he's okay. Charge is about to finish, +1 attack, also about 30 seconds away. MaxPax once again supply blocked, so that's been an issue, and he's about to even further supply block himself. Well, be supply blocked. He keeps on putting down a bunch of pylons over here, which is why I'm amused. Why I kind of blame him for it. It's like, isn't one going to cut it? I guess not. I guess because he needs 1 for the air and then 1 for the ground, but still. Kind of painful. This time around, MaxPax alleviates that supply block rather quickly, but again, the split on these armies is so damn difficult to call. Almost all Zealots off to the left side is going to be out-microed, popped by a Widowmine, and then the Colossus left alone will not be good enough. MaxPax has to be really careful here. Clem actually not noticing he could jump on top of that. He was too busy focusing on the right side, in which case he did actually win the right side engagement, so more power to him. Nexus will fall, Vikings are here, Ghosts are ready with the EMP, and MaxPax, oh, he is starting to tumble, guys. Oh, Zealots, okay. Kind of split against those Widowmines, but probably not going to be good enough even still. Some units from the backside distracting the Colossus. Attacks, get the EMPs off where the Ghosts die, and this attack on the left side actually is not even over. It continues on. GG, Clem will win game 1. Basically just delivering right? He made it to the finish line. He spiked the ball in the end zone, whatever. He did not mess up because he was in a much better position with the build order that he chose. But worse Terrans could probably still throw against MaxPax. The early 1900s is a crazy time, man. Circus performers without safety nets, literally. Elephants high diving into swimming pools. If you didn't know about that, I'm not making it up. It's a real thing. World Wars. Silly. The early 2000s is going so differently. Oh. Anyways, we don't have horses diving into pools at the very least. In the top right, it is MaxPax. The bottom left, it is Clem. That I know about. Perhaps somewhere out there, there are horses diving into pools still. Just for fun, maybe. So Clem, as I said, really just getting the better build order choice and then executing it well. Execution still being most important in StarCraft 2. People say they want more strategy in this real-time strategy game. I feel like forget how lame it is when people have build order wins. And I know they just kind of use strategy as this grand concept that could mean anything and everything they want, but yeah, no one really likes build order wins. And that was kind of one. I mean, I don't think we have really hard build order wins very much in StarCraft, where it's literally just, you know, no chance, goodbye, you're dead. But we do have soft counters, I would say, and that was kind of one. Clem 3cc build, MaxPax 2 base, more middle of the road, safe build. Middle of the road does not beat extremes. Unless one player is better than the other, or one player messes up. Clem really should not be allowed to get away with a 3cc build again. I mean, that was an incredible gamble. Again, I don't know if Clem picked up on something, just really detailed-oriented about the opener and the aggression and the map that said, okay, MaxPax doesn't Twilight Council here, but the threat of MaxPax 4-gating is supposed to keep the Terran down. The threat of MaxPax's early aggression is supposed to keep the Terran down. And it's not a facade, it's not an illusion where people are more scared than they should be. No, they're usually appropriately scared. If Hero Marine high ground CCs against MaxPax, you don't scoff at Hero Marine, you talk about how powerful MaxPax is. But Clem is trying to, I guess, also walk his own tightrope. A little less scary of one, though. There's a safety net under it. But that is appropriately defending against MaxPax's pressures and trying to get advantages when he can in his build order. Because, of course, he'll probably be able to make advantages when it comes to controlling his army, but the build order might be a different story. Twilight Council is coming up for MaxPax in this game, so I'm going to go ahead and predict the 4-gate. Clem is not going into a 3cc build, but he's also not going into a 1-1-1. He's going to go ahead and go into a 2-1 setup. So we'll have the tank production, but then we'll also have a decent amount of bio. And I think this is a strong counter build to a 4-gate, but it definitely is not a direct counter. I mean, if MaxPax wins, that is just MaxPax doing his thing. And that would, I mean, you know what? I'm going to even say it's going to probably happen. I think MaxPax still wins the 4-gate. He's just that damn powerful with it. But this should be a really good build. You don't have any kind of almost unnecessary starport units. Like, yeah, Raven can help. A Viking could help. It just, a medevac drop, Widow Mines could get probe damage. It's just so unlikely. The Raven does an auto turret. Maybe it helps for that attack. Doesn't help for the second one. Viking should never get a Warp Prism. Should just never really help. And then Widow Mine drop might keep some stalkers at home, but really should never get that many probes damaged. So it's kind of a wasted resource if you are planning on going up against a 4-gate. Now, the downside, I think, of blindly doing this is if MaxPax actually went into a 2-gate 3rd Nexus greedy build, then you have no pressure to stall them out, right? But even then, Clem might be able to push and still do something against it. But right now, against a 4-gate Blink build, tanks and bunkers, tanks and bunkers, tanks and bunkers. Because it is a 4-gate, because of course it is. There's always that chance it's a Dark Shrine, but I was feeling the 4 gate this time. I think MaxPax would be quite annoyed that Clem thought he could get away with the 3cc. And then he did. Bastard. Let's see if the 4 gate control is as good as I hyped it up to be. It usually is. Clem, not yet at that perfect defensive posturing. I'd say a bunker in the high ground would be absolutely perfect, but can't afford it. Squeezing every last penny. It's going to go for a little bit of a wall, but it's coming in late. The 4 gate has been correctly predicted, but is it being correctly defended against? That tank's awfully in the air. It's in awfully open space. It did get a first shot on the blink as it popped up, but only really that one shot. Second shot was on a much more concave blink stalker army. The bio count is a little bit heftier than it would be if this was a 1-1-1. So that's something that Clem was hoping would really punish such a stalker move. I don't think it really did. I'm much more worried about Clem's production than I am about MaxPax's, even though Clem now even has the 3rd barracks pumping away on a Marauder. No tank is a scary position to be in for a Terran player against the 4 gate double blink, basically. Blink and the Warp Prism micro. Clem's trying his damnness. He does have stim. He does pop it, and he's going to chase after these Stalkers, but even the Marauder's getting very, very low. No healing here. Stalkers are low, but alive. And Clem is still in a little bit of trouble. The 2nd tank is out. The bunker at the front is still up. SCV, good spotting unit. Needs to get that tank shot. Give it as much vision as possible. If Clem does not get overwhelmed, he will have a good position. He'll have an even number of workers, a stronger army, you know, upgraded bio versus Stalker Zealot. But can he stop the snowball? It looks like MaxPax already believes that he can, so he's going to go for his harassment, which is usually the first sign of MaxPax kind of giving up on the idea of a direct killing blow. So the Warp Prism goes for harassment, 4 Stalkers, 1 shot in SCV. Clem probably figuring, all right, I understand. Now you probably have a 3rd Nexus either done or on the way. You're moving into charge. The next step of the MaxPax 4 gate is underway, which means that Clem really wants to get his ducks in a row. Wants to get his units healed up, Medivacs out, Marauder slow finish. Oh, combat shields also never started. So that too. Deal with the Warp Prism, and then move across the map before MaxPax can build up a good enough army. MaxPax is not done picking off important units. 1 Marauder just went down there looking for a 2nd one. I mean, even a stim still hurts, right? Because we're not even on Medivacs yet. And if we get there eventually, it's only 2, so they'll be out of juice really quickly. Finally get rid of the Observer. Pretty worth it. 3rd CC finishes up for Clem. MaxPax, his 3rd is already saturated. His 4th is on the way. Colossus number 1 finally started in charge, and +1 attack for the Protoss will be done. Clem's first real attack will include 4 Medivacs, 1-1 upgrades, 3 tanks, and a decent amount of bio. His first attack should be coming soon. Clem, at the very least, needs to send these Stalkers away so we can get his 3rd CC on location. This is what's so annoying about dealing with MaxPax. You know that he's never going to leave you alone. So you gotta predict as far ahead as possible as to what MaxPax will do, and a lot of Terrans have been getting a lot better about that. Clem, especially. So whereas before, Clem would lose a lead like this, he'd let some Zealots into the natural, or he'd let the Warp Prism back in, or whatever it is. He's been much better about securing positions. So like this wall, right? It looks kind of comical, but it's actually helpful. It's not a full wall though, so that's what's funny about it. Yeah, full wall would be very helpful against a Zealot run by. And the 3rd CC is vulnerable alone, but it could always be picked up. So MaxPax is putting a lot of effort into his first attack, hoping that it'll do some significant damage. However, Clem, not actually well aware of the army movement. However, his army is just so tanky. Wow, actually, that it manages to push through. And he defends the Warp Prism back at home. MaxPax still in a lot of trouble. Down 20 army supply. Down an upgrade. Tanks getting further into position. Medivacs are out of juice, however, and that's going to be literally dangerous. The Marauder's going to try and jump on top of the Colossus that are left alone as the tanks actually get taken out by the Stalkers, but the bio count is still so high, and Clem is going to win with this first push. Wow, I saw that situation right there, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look very, very promising for a Terran player, but his army was just so thick. Double C's, man. MaxPax did catch him off guard. And it didn't matter. And now Clem, safely denying the Warp Prism harassment and the Zealot run buys, secures his third CC, gets the rest of his army on the front lines, and MaxPax, despite what looked like a very solid follow-up, does get appropriately punished. Like, the MaxPax is trying to prove a lot of things wrong that we generally agree on as StarCraft people. For instance, that a 4-gate is not a macro build. He's really trying to prove that one wrong. Or that you can recover from a 4-gate that doesn't work if you play your cards right. And there are still times where you would start to question, like, is MaxPax just like figuring this out? But that's when the Terran players usually figure it out as well. And you can see here, Clem figured, I'll have a big enough army and a good enough army that if I don't have to worry about anything else, I can push you and probably either do significant damage or I can win. Whereas last year, what Clem would do is that Clem would push out as you would expect a Terran to, but then he would not defend against the run buys, and he'd pull back for 10 seconds. And that 10 seconds is an extraordinary amount for MaxPax. And then he has to do it again, and then he has to do it again, and then by the time he actually moves across the map, it's super, super, super awkward. Clem's victories against MaxPax recently, besides, I guess, his regionals one, anyways, have looked clean like that, so I'd have to take another look at what happened in the regionals, because I did kind of gloss over it. I wasn't casting that day. Third game, starting up here. It's going to be on Dragon Scales. And MaxPax is already on his last life. In the top left, down 2 games in the best of 5, he is MaxPax. In the bottom right is the Red Terran. It's Clem. So Clem just getting a bit of a build order win in the first game. Second game, defends the 4-gate. Felt like just barely. It really did. I actually was really surprised that MaxPax defaulted to his harassment with the Warp Prism. Because there weren't really all that many bio units. Yes, Sim was done, but there was still a decent amount of Stalkers, although many of them were injured. And I thought there would be more gains still to be created there for MaxPax, but no, he read the situation, as he does, and said, I cannot win the game, so time to go into harassment mode. Which usually really does signal that change of pace. That he will no longer be trying to straight up kill you. He's just going to try and harass you. And Clem was able to get his ducks in a row and prepare for what he knows very well. MaxPax's follow-up. I don't think MaxPax changes up his follow-up all that much, because it's really difficult to do so. You know, if you go into Storm instead of Colossus, for instance, like, you have to go into Charge afterwards, right? Like, I don't think you're going to go Stalker 4-gate directly into a Colossus, although maybe you could risk it, I don't know. But it's usually into the Zealot, then it's into the Colossus, 4th base and mixed in there as well. And let's say you change that into Storm. Storm can be surprising, but it's actually really not the most reliable thing against really good Terran players, who have also been building up Marauders for a longer period of time because they went for a 3-1 opener compared to a 1-1-1 opener. So it is troublesome. So Colossus are, like, they're very dependable. And if you use them absolutely correctly, just like no mistakes made, you know, I think there was a chance that MaxPax could have held. But MaxPax did warp in offensively, which did not do the damage it wanted, and it could have been used defensively to help protect his Colossus. He engaged into a Clem's army that he thought was going to be unprepared, and I still think it was. It just was so tanky that even though he did catch Clem a little off guard, it just didn't end up mattering. And then, without the Zealots to help against those tanks, there was that awkward blink forward, but then leaving the Colossus completely alone. So, I don't know. It is supposed to be the case that Clem wins that game after defending a 4-gate. Defend a 4-gate, you win. It's supposed to be what happens. But MaxPax, eager to prove that wrong, sometimes gets close to proving it wrong. Didn't last game. Maybe he does it again, or maybe this is the Dark Shrine one. Oh, Reaper's getting some damage done. No probe kill yet. Oh, he wants it. Oh, he wants it. Oh, he does, but the Adept is... Well, not going to one-shot him anymore. Regen should kick in. Yeah. Thank God for regen. Alright, so Blink is on the way. Second Gateway's on the way. It is going to be a 4-gate. Yeah. I actually don't know when's the last time I saw MaxPax do a 2-gate third base. Can anyone go find that for me? Can anyone just, like... Is that actually something that MaxPax has ever done? Was he 4-gating since birth? He never learned the meaning of a 2-gate third nexus? Okay. But Clem is once again doing this kind of counter build order, which I will call a counter, because it is nice to have, but we saw last game how close it got to being overwhelmed. So it still relies a lot on correct positioning, a correct splitting of the army. Pretty much that, yeah. Reaper's getting all types of confirmation that it is a 4-gate, by the way. MaxPax has not scouted very much beyond the initial probe scout, but he does this no matter what he's up against, actually. It's just he's not finding it up against that 3cc, which would be the most ideal thing ever. Clem got away with it. He laughed all the way to the bank, man, in that first game. Nah, I caught you not going for a 4-gate. And then now is completely tight-lipped. He's being interrogated as to why in the world did you 3cc against the guy who 4-gates all the time? And now why aren't you doing it anymore? And he's like, I'm gonna defend. I'm gonna defend. I need my lawyer. MaxPax is gonna find it difficult to, yet again, make this 4-gate work. Pretty much there's two things he could do differently. All in more, or back away faster. Those are the two things he could do differently. Cyclone Lock-On actually did go on the Warp Prism for a second, it looked like, but maybe not. Actually, probably didn't. Went on a Stalker that got picked up. But the Cyclone and the Marauders all together packing a wallop. Some Stalkers did go down in that trade there, and that was 1 out of 2 bunkers going down, so not yet enough to breach the natural. In fact, that was 2 Stalkers killed for only the Marines. None of the Marauders actually died. 2 tanks sieged up in the main base are looking quite strong, so the Clem also... A little bit of a difference of how he defended, right? So he's making sure that nothing is the exact same way as the last time MaxPax used this, because MaxPax is oftentimes going in blind, right? He's not necessarily doing a whole lot of forward scouting. His observer did just get sieged up, but, you know, he doesn't quite know what's behind here, for instance. So if he figures a pattern to the Terran's defense, he puts his tanks there, he puts his bunkers here, then he can abuse that. And Clem just changed it up. 2 bunkers at the front, all of his tanks in the high ground. MaxPax not finding any attack avenue, and this is actually more one-sided than the last game. There is no doubt in my mind that Clem is going to hold. Whereas last game, it was like, you know, 1 or 2 more Marauders picked off. No, Clem is going to hold even better, have an even stronger, faster counterattack most likely, although the starport's still the limiting factor there. And is preparing for all of those follow-up moves that MaxPax does love to do. So Missile Turret comes up. It's a lot of space to cover. The Missile Turret will not do all of the job, but could catch a shift-clicked Warp Prism, that's for sure. Missile Turret also popped up, I think. I don't think it's for anti-DTs, because I don't think MaxPax really ever goes follow-up DTs after this. But I think it is trying to cover at least some of the Observer. So the Observer was sieged up here, for instance. I think the detection range would have seen it. I think MaxPax noticed the missile turret being built or something. No, he just moved it. Which was a good idea, good idea. All right, so here we go. There's the change up. We're going to go into Templar Archives much faster and probably Storm afterwards too. So we'll see if my theory is correct, which is that Storm's just not dependable. Storm still relies on you getting a little bit of a juicy shot combined with the follow-up Zealots swinging their arms around. And then that's that, right? The Storm's here, they don't. And if the Warp Prism dies, he's going to have to recreate it. You can't go Storm against professional Terrans without that Warp Prism. There's that Storm. You can see MaxPax sending out spotter units all over the place, as well as run-bys being set up. 2 Zealots into the 3rd, Warp Prism into the main. Clem is pushing out. Oh my god, overstaying too. Jesus. That's a little dangerous. But there you go. Also leaving Bio at home. Clem is not going to let this Warp Prism cause any shenanigans. He's done with it. He's done with your shit, MaxPax. You've done the same thing too many times. The Warp Prism will eventually find an avenue, but short-lived, short-lived. Just a little denial on the 3rd CC. A little bit of damage on that Warp Prism, which again, MaxPax really cannot lose. He does not want to take the time to replace that. It's expensive, but then you literally need it to pick up those High Templars. He needs to, right now, go back home and pick up those High Templars. There we go. So the Zealots are going to be left off, but then Clem predicted this. Now, Clem does not know his opponent went to a Templar Archives. You know, there's actually nothing so far that has shown him it's going to be Storm. So he's just predicting the Warp Prism movements. He's not predicting the Warp Prism carrying those High Templars, but he might see it now with the scan. He knows what that means. And he is going to go ahead and dodge away, open up that concave. So far, not really the best of storms. And are all the storms gone? That was 2 out of 3, I believe. Medevac's not really a whole lot of them to start healing up, man. So these stims are starting to hurt. One more storm would do a tremendous amount of damage, but that's not all that Clem has thrown this way. That storm is going to hit, and oh, look at that damage done. Even then, only the Marines died. Another drop was off to the right side. The same one that chased off the Zealot run-by goes in to try and kill the 3rd base. Will not be successful and actually gets punished. But as the units go over to the right side, Clem goes into the main. Look how damn injured his army is. Holy shit, these Medevacs are overworked. My goodness. 16 probes have gone down, even though the Nexus have not. And Clem is playing with a little bit of fire, actually. I mean, these units are so injured that literally one storm would kill the Medevacs, well, that Medevac anyways, and the Bio. So Clem's 20 supply lead would probably just fall. It'd probably fall to a 10 army supply deficit or something. That would be a lot of damage. But fortunately, Clem does escape with his 2 drops to the left and a single drop over to the right. So we're good, we're all right. And MaxPax has held on to his 4 bases, but he did take that probe damage, right? So it's not a extremely healthy 4 bases. He might be mining from his minerals okay, but he doesn't even have all of his gases. So he's missing 3 gases, 4 gases actually, which means we're not exactly powering up on a bajillion Archons, plenty of storms with plenty of Archons. He does have to pick and choose. I love that people are now defaulting to breaking down these rocks. It just makes the pathway shorter, so the Wood of Mines are more effective, and Clem perfectly positions them too. I doubted it, to be honest. I thought those Wood of Mines would die, but nope, he was right. Now Ghosts are out, so the High Templars aren't nearly as scary. I mean, they're still controlled well. They still get the storms, but there's a chance to get EMP'd down. Colossus adding in that second element of area of effect damage, but only 1 Colossus, no range on it. There's still a lot of Marauders, and now the Medevac count is actually healthy, given time to get more energy as well. You guys couldn't see that, but Ziggy literally fell off the ledge. I don't know how you fall off a window ledge, but alright then. So now Clem is totally prepared. Much stronger army. MaxPax does have +2, and now he has 2-1. Clem was very late to his armor upgrade, so there is a big upgrade disadvantage. But the army type of Clem is still so strong. A couple of EMPs, a couple of, decent concave, and this could be really difficult for MaxPax to hold against. But MaxPax finally getting a successful run by after so many attempts, finally catching Clem a little bit more off guard. MaxPax is grabbing a 5th base as he tries to hold against this 3rd. Oh, that is a lot of bio, man. That is so much bio. You can see him dancing around. He doesn't want to really confront this head on. He wants to drag the army into the storms that are still waiting in the Warp Prism. I'm not trying to tire Clem out, to be honest. And it is effective strategy. Eventually, these Medevacs will run out of juice. MaxPax's 5th is now done. He's recovered his worker count to a certain extent. 65 is still not all that impressive for someone on 5 bases, right? So MaxPax is still mostly mining that minerals, not really adding on a whole lot of gas. So, for instance, now that would be an issue with Archon production, yeah, obviously, but then DT production as well. MaxPax on a 5 base, 75 worker setup, I think has already added a Dark Shrine, but not in this game. Not when he still has 40 supply to fill with his ground army. One attempt at a storm. Maybe he did something. Trying to find these units out of position. The Vikings would love to tear down that Warp Prism, but there's really not that many Vikings. That storm was actually pretty decent. Clem did not back away from it all that quickly. The Vikings are looking for the free shots, but the Stalkers are stopping them from doing so. Now we got this concave, one storm, mostly on the air, to be honest. Now they're on top of the Marauders. There we go. More Zealots coming in as well. Medivacs are almost out of juice completely, but the Colossus are falling. The fodder is gone. MaxPax's supply dipping that ever so much lower. The Colossus Micro about to save the day with the Zealot reinforcements, and Clem is not going to push any farther. His Medivacs were entirely dry. His army was getting severely injured, and he decided that that was a time to evacuate. But that will mean his foot is off the gas. MaxPax still has his 5 bases up and running. Still has the upgrade lead with his 3-2 closing in. Clem only now getting his 4th base down, has actually not resaturated his 3rd from some Zealot run-bys. And has also never gone above like 55 SCVs, so his economy's not exactly super great either. And MaxPax, I understand why he's doing this, but I don't think he's going to have as much success as he's hoping. That is a not very powerful Protoss army. And in fact, the only reason it's even scary is that those upgrades are problematic. And that is a lot of things vulnerable to the EMP, and only one thing that it really isn't. Colossus. Okay, second Colossus is here. Okay. I think, MaxPax should take a chill pill. And I think now he is. He's like, you know what? That might not have been the best move. Pulls back. Now up to 70 plus probes. Getting his gases as well. And I think we will see a Dark Shrine in about a minute and a half. It's such a powerful tool. It's really quite necessary, I would say. As much as we all hate working against DTs, I think it is necessary for the Protoss to play out the mid to late game PvT. But so far, still not grabbing it. Clem's gonna go for Wood of Mine drop, decides to use it defensively. It's kind of funny. Disruptors are now on the way, which definitely are also necessary. I've kind of avoided talking about Disruptors because it was such a tight game. But now that we have some breathing room, Disruptors are definitely necessary. Back up the 3 Colossus as well. That count that really stabilizes the Protoss army. War Prism managed to avoid being caught. Like, it was chased by the Bio, the Vikings, and the Wood of Mines. There you go, finally dies. And now Clem can focus entirely on the defense. Although he doesn't know he has to be on the defense quite yet. Observer's going to run over his army. Clem's not going to be able to see that. Perfect scouting from MaxPax. Going to see exactly the way the army moves. Clem's actually setting up a bit of a surround, but it's being telegraphed. This Wood of Mine's still very well placed. No bunker, though, so... The Wood of Mines can't kill every single Zealot. No. Clem seems to have gotten a couple of pot shots off on the Colossus, but is forced to pull back. The Zealot run-bys doing exactly what they need to do. Zealot run-bys are not that bad. It's when the DTs are included that I start to get really scared, but still no Dark Shrine. Still doesn't really have the gas for it, I guess. He did only add on 2 more gases, and he just replaced maybe some of the expired ones. MaxPax needs to be careful. This could turn into a surround, and that's exactly what MaxPax picks up on. Oh my god, okay, Disruptor gets 2 ghosts. And the second Disruptor wasn't as impressive. Third one's okay. Vikings are getting a lot of free shots on the Colossus. Now the Stalkers try and fight, but 2 out of 3 Colossus already dead. Disruptor on the right side does clip the Terran army. Is that it for the Disruptors? It might just be, but the rest of the Protoss army stands strong. That's a lot of Stalkers now involved as well. Going to try and chase after this army, but perhaps a little too aggressively. The shield battery overcharge is really what made the defense very promising. Attacking into the Terran as they grab the high ground. A little sketchier. MaxPax still had that upgrade lead and is going to have another one in about 20 seconds, but for a very limited amount of time. Basically, both of them were getting up on their 3-3 in about 30 seconds. And as the Disruptors get added on, well, upgrades bound less and less. Clem's still trying to find some positioning, rallying forward into his opponent's 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His 6th. MaxPax is trying to grab his 7th up to the top right. Clem's trying to grab a 5th that was actually harassed and not being repaired. I'm a little worried about that. MaxPax sending some units over to actually maybe kill that, by the way, but Clem sees an opportunity. He's looking at that army. He's looking at his lips, and he's like, if you don't get my those Disruptor shots on my army, I can actually kill that. Now that is the trick, isn't it? Dodging every single Disruptor shot. So far, so good, but also distracted by the Zealot trying to repair his planetary and micro on the front lines. Tough stuff for the Terran here. Can he do it? 1 more Colossus falls, but the Disruptor count has grown quite a bit. 6 on the front lines at least. Clem loses 12 SCVs, lacking mining on his 4th, 3rd, whatever it is. It's 3rd. I don't know how that zealot didn't just kill that planetary, by the way. It was burning for so long. But now it is a planetary, so it's fine, and it's fully repaired. The MaxPax has once again bought himself a lot of time with these run-bys. Clem saw an opportunity, but the disruptor balls over and over and over again took it away, and now Clem is on the defensive against a large disruptor army. Very difficult to break out against this. You're gonna need liberators to help you out. Clem actually ran back into the disruptor shot too quick to try and chase after. Wanted to protect his planetary, and he actually does. MaxPax is not going to gun for it. Very dangerous for a Protoss player to try and kill a planetary while also under the Terran's attack. 15 more SCVs went down? Is that what happened? Clamont's 54. I mean, he's living. A couple Liberators are on the way. This is the game where the 4-gate Blink was defended even better, and this is the game that Clem is going to lose. Yeah, right. Army supplies are still even. Upgrades are even. Even an upgrade for the Liberator. Finally, a couple are on their way out. Clem manages to, well, I was going to say catch the Protoss out of position, but, you know, maybe vice versa. I don't know. MaxPax is looking to catch up to Clem's army, but now it's going to turn into a surround. A lot more disruptor shots still available. Good save with the medevac right there. How many disruptors does MaxPax have? How many balls can he shoot out? 10 disruptors. If they're shooting one at a time, probably will never stop. Clem's going to have to force a bigger commitment to the disruptor balls, you know, 3 or 4 at a time, and then Clem might have an opportunity if he doesn't get hit by them. And if you can't do that, then Liberators are your only option to slowly siege hop forward, as disruptors cannot shoot up, thank God. Planetary goes down alongside all those SCVs. Clem is now very much all in. He was already in a dicey spot to begin with, but now he's like really all in. And these Liberators might eventually get +2, but they will not have Liberator range, so they're not going to be the end-all be-all of his army type. Although they are very effective right now. No, he ran back into it! He's not paying attention, he's distracted by the Zealot run-by. Clem's army continuing to get less and less. He's still only down by 9 army supply, but he can't collect them all together. And, you know, MaxPax should never let the Liberators siege up on his, like, base, right? MaxPax should never be the type to go defensive here. Because if he does, then Liberators would be really good. If MaxPax lets the Liberators siege chop all the way to this base or this base, he could be in trouble. Liberator's currently just going for the harassment. It's a very different scenario than what I was talking about. Harassment can be dealt with. Oh my god, he ran back into Disruptor again. Oh my goodness. Ah! Another planetary is about to fall as well. There's repair. Is that going to be enough? Question mark? Yes, no, maybe so, no, no. The repair is going to be enough. Holy shit. The repair barely coming through to save that planetary. But this orbital command is his main base. That is not a good sign when you see the Protoss taking this base as well. And Clem will just tap out. Woo. GG. Yeah, that was the game where the 4-gate was defended almost flawlessly. And yet that's the one that MaxPax wins. See, there's something about it. The Storm did change up the dynamic of the follow-up engagement a little bit, but even then I thought Clem was doing well enough against it. But he really did have the lack of medevacs really showing. The lack of medevacs really showed up against Storm. Because you take the Storm damage and you're always stimming away from it. As opposed to, I guess, when you stim onto a Colossus, you at least trade that out, perhaps. And just usually the Colossus doesn't do as much area of effect, because the Colossus is a beam. It attacks what it attacks. Storm is coverage, you know? Back up against the wall, and he comes swinging. In the top right, taking a game, finally, it is MaxPax. In the bottom left, as the Red Terran, it is Clem. Defends the 4 gates as well as anyone can. Loses the game anyways. I'm awaiting the balance complaints. Despite Clem still winning the series overall. Which I think he will do. I mean, I think he did end up overstimming, probably, and getting a little too all over the place. See, his idea to get all over the place is really good against someone who's very dependent on those storms, because then you force the storms to only react to, like, one place, right? Since the High Templars aren't particularly fast movers, they can't be at all locations at once. They have to be accompanied by the Warp Prism. So then you attack up to the main base and only zealots respond. Zealots that don't even have an upgrade yet or something. And then they get choked up and then it works. But the problem, I think, was that Clem was so stimmed and so injured from the first battle that him going all over the place actually just forced him to entirely evacuate when he was no longer doing damage. He couldn't contest zealots because his marauders were under the red. So he just entirely ran back. He entirely pulled off of the aggression, which gave MaxPax a lot of time, combined with all those incredibly annoying run-bys. Gave MaxPax a lot of time to recover. And slip in the 4th base, and then slip in the 5th base. And that's a time in which Clem was running around, dropping, and getting his units down to the red was, you know, his most powerful time. Post-4-gate defense. When you still have that, kind of the Protoss under your thumb a little bit. It's them that have to be really quite worried. But yeah, I don't think it happens the same way again. But it could be a 4-gate again. That I have no doubts. Clem's going to go for a little bit of a bunker shenanigans play. MaxPax does not see this. Buildings do not see very much. His probe will wisely go back to mine from the natural to check that out. And so he'll be able to respond with a shield battery. However, that shield battery is in range of the Reaper. But since it's not a proxy, far from it, a second unit will not be here to help. So one shield battery will be enough against one Reaper. The bunker is still, of course, annoying because it stops any probes from mining. The shield battery, I said was fine. I'm second guessing. I mean, MaxPax did default to the Adepts because that's what he usually opens up with. That's what Protoss usually open with in general. If they knew they beat Bunker Rush, they would have gotten a first Stalker, but that shield battery dies. That was worth it there for Clem. 100 minerals down the drain for MaxPax, and Probe still somewhat harassed. SCV's still alive. Come on now. Come on. The bunker will eventually fall. The bunker will eventually fall. That is guaranteed. It is burning. There we go. There's the salvage. And Clem will get that scout in the main base as well. No, he will not. He is completely denied. He should still get up there, though. Yeah. He sees Twilight Council. I saw the Reaper move away. And I thought that was like a literal complete denial, but that's definitely space for a Reaper. And unfortunately for MaxPax, he didn't put his Twilight Council far enough away. Pylon wouldn't allow it, I guess. So the Reaper does know. Clem would have been able to figure it out. Literally. Well, the Stalker is a bit ambiguous because he did have a bunker. But I think he would have figured it out anyways. But it's really nice to know as fast as possible that was a Twilight Council. MaxPax is also already defaulting to his 3-1 build that does defend against the 4-gate very well. And MaxPax refuses to try and take advantage of this in some way. If there was. Maybe there isn't an advantage to be taken. But he's not changing things up. MaxPax, a bit stubborn sometimes. He's going to 4-gate again. Even though the pattern has been set that Clem does this anti-4-gate build. MaxPax doesn't care. It's like, I'll still find success with it. And he did last game. But not the game before. It's not a sure thing. I think Clem did make one huge mistake that last game too, didn't he? He was behind an upgrade far longer than he should have been, right? His +1 is pretty fast with this. But then the armor was incredibly late. Just thinking of things he could improve on for the follow-up. Again, 2 choices for MaxPax. Back away faster or commit harder. Second bunker is not going to be ready this time. There's already a slight difference, and perhaps a big difference. 1 SCV, you want to go ahead and build that? You're not repairing anyways? There we go. Stalker's in the main base, going to go after the SCVs, and look, MaxPax actually is not going to commit very hard to this at all. He's already shown the 4 Stalker hit squad, which means he's not really going to dedicate to an attack much. Cyclone does get the lock on, but can't chase it down. However, it does help kills 2 Stalkers. 6 SCVs went down in total. MaxPax grabs one of the fastest third nexus I think he's gotten so far in these past 3 games. But he can't dedicate to the 4-gate attack. Clem now has a green light to just pay attention to his own base, which he wasn't really struggling with before anyways, but now it's really easy. But unfortunately for Clem, there is no immediate follow-up. He has to wait for Stim. He has to wait for his medevacs. Which, you know, might seem like a strength to the 4-gate. You can call this like almost like a fake 4-gate. You're like, oh, genius, brilliant, this is so effective. I'd still hesitate to call it effective. I'd still hesitate to call it a real strategy. You know, one that could be used all and over and over and over again. The second tank didn't get the second shot. It's a bit disappointing. 2 tanks go down for the price of how many stalkers? 1. That was 1 stalker, because the 2 that died was over here. Holy shit. Hacks. OP. What the fuck? Okay, yeah, MaxPax getting those victories. For sure, for sure. Man, 2 tanks out of the equation for 1 stalker. What? 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 Anyways. Yeah, the whole, again, the fake 4-gate, the one that's not really committed to very much, I was saying I don't think is like a real strategy basic. I think you still take... You're still punching yourself in the face for doing a 4-gate that doesn't work. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my... Yeah, okay. 2 medevacs almost killing themselves. MaxPax was on to that trick. Lickety split because he had an observer, which Clem does the OU face at the observer. And the observer does the OU face back. And then Clem does unload and just goes for the direct punch, which it feels like is very, very, very powerful. But MaxPax has, I think, like shortened the amount of time that he is in desperation mode by moving away from the 4-gate as quickly as he did, and by killing 2 tanks for 1 stalker. This actually still blows my mind. This is so absurd. 2 tanks should absolutely be with his army right now. That is unfair. Anyways. But he's shortened the amount of time that he has to be really, really scared, right? He's still got to be really scared as long as this is his army right here. Not very much. But if Clem cannot engage at this particular time, and he's 2 tanks less than he should be anyways, then MaxPax has much better footing. Because he moved so quickly into a 3rd base, chroned out those probes, and got into his Colossus tech. But seriously, 2 tanks should be involved with this fight. 2 tanks would be brilliant in this fight, because the 2 tanks would actually be somewhat of a response to Colossus. As it is, just Concave's Marauder Micro will be the response to what will soon be 3 Colossus.
Received. Thank you for appeasing the undermine.
Thank you, Mr. Yates, for the 5 months. Gonna grab the easy peasy 7X core, but that does choke his army up, so you gotta be real careful. But you also gotta be careful as MaxPax. You know, you find the bio ball, balled up, great. It concaves at the last second, a little less great. Clem went for a run-by that intercepted a Zealot run-by, I think is what happened. Or vice versa, I'm not sure, but the point is. Drop on the left side for Clem, not going to work out. Zealot's also not going to work out for MaxPax. He scans a would-be 4th base, but it's actually the center base that MaxPax has taken. Clem did see, I think, a very, very much intentional 4th base over here. I think he did see a probe go over there and build something. So he probably figures a 4th base, right? But he doesn't know exactly where it is, so he can't go harass it. Now he knows. Just kidding. Now he knows. And this drop will just be anti-Zealot defense. Stalker's chasing after. 1 more died. Just all. That's it, though. Observer will see this incoming drop in the main base. We already had some Stalkers, more being added on, and Clem does no longer have boost. 1 got instantly sniped anyways. Clem not finding any success on the follow-up, man. MaxPax in a very good position. He is going to find the rest of this drop and have no pressure elsewhere. Clem's attack on the 4th base might be a little ill-timed, or maybe perfectly timed. Recall is going to be used, but that DPS is high. Oh, shit. The Nexus fell. The recall happened, but the Stalkers have to actually blink backwards. To be honest, that was never going to be much of a recall because it was the Colossus that needed to be there, and they were just being slow. They were just out of position. So Clem at least gets that much going for him, but is that actually enough? MaxPax's army supply a lot higher. He killed 3 medevacs off to the right side, a handful of units with that defense of the 4th, and now is looking for revenge. 10 army supply difference. Clem could recover if he has one hell of a fight. He gets an EMP off, but his 3rd CC is under fire. It will be saved at the last second. The 25 SCVs go down. Zealots in the natural as well. Clem is under all types of pressure. He will not have an easy road to winning this best of 5, even if he does. I mean, he might not. MaxPax bringing it back, taking us to game number 5. And Clem is back to where he was a year ago or whatever, where he just can't quite figure out how to actually cut this guy's head off. He's like, I swear I'm beating up on the snake. But the snake keeps winning. I have a feeling there's Terran bias here. There's really not. I feel like even Protoss players would find a 1 Stalker trade for 2 tanks pretty freaking absurd. Unless you thought I was seriously saying that's overpowered, but I think I was clearly joking. All the way to game number 5, despite the odds. MaxPax spawns in the bottom left of altitude. Clem in the top right. Clem looked very strong in the first 2 games, totally prepared for what MaxPax was going to do. Seemed to be reading him so perfectly well and figuring out the follow-up too well. And then MaxPax changed up a little bit. Went for the Storm follow-up, then the kind of non-committal 4-gate follow-up. Probably some other small but important differences. Perhaps the amount of run-bys that he did or did not dedicate to in exchange for a stronger or less strong economy, right? He's given MaxPax the last 2 games. Because if he, the second game, he warps in Zealots and a Warp Prism run-by and both get denied. And then in the 3rd or 4th game, he doesn't do those things. He has 800 minerals in his pocket. That would have been a faster Nexus and a faster Colossus or whatever it was. So I would not be surprised if that was happening. I just didn't pick up on it. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kind of. It broke once, but you repaired it, and now it's working. So don't fix it anymore for MaxPax. The analogy doesn't work if it died once and then worked twice. But point is, MaxPax might just go ahead and forget again. Because clearly something about it is now working against Clem. I don't really think Clem is the one that has to change his build. But there must be a reason as to why that 3-1 opener is not something that Terrans default do. And I kind of threw out a theory about it. In the second game. The second game is when we saw it for the first time. Which is that it doesn't do any pressure to a Protoss' early game. Actually the last game really showcased what is kind of weak about it, which is that, yeah, it gives you a decent amount of units, but then even when MaxPax was clearly backing away from the 4-gate, Clem couldn't do anything. He could not say, oh, you're clearly backing away from the 4-gate, let's march across the map and win, because his stim wasn't done and his medevacs weren't out. So I think that's a difference for sure. Or at least a Widowmine drop would still be in effect, maybe. Or a 2-1-1 would give you faster medevacs. The 4-gate isn't even all in. It's very dedicated. I mean, this is just something that most... Oh my god, Clem, stop. Clem didn't go for a second gas. Oh my god. Oh, and the Adept's gonna find that. Oh shit. Oh shit. Cancel the 3rd CC. Get a second gas. It won't make any sense, but do it. Oh my god, this is actually terrible. Of course MaxPax is 4-gating again. Of course he is. Clem sold the Twilight Council and he still went for a 3rd CC. Come on. I don't know, man. Theoretically, three command center isn't supposed to win here. Because going back to what, some guy said it's not even that all in. It's not even an all in. It's pretty freaking dedicated. The 4-gate is pretty freaking dedicated. Not many other Protoss players can follow up from a 4-gate build, whether they warp in a lot of Stalkers or not. Not many other players can follow up well. You see Mana try a 4-gate, his 4-gate's decent, his follow-up is not comparable. A lot of other Protoss are going to have the same trouble. I mean, Showtime doesn't even freaking 4-gate. He does it like once every 2 months or something. Like, there's a reason that MaxPax does it. And it's because he actually can win with it, even when it doesn't work. To go up against a 3cc build, the 4-gate should be a slam dunk victory. It's the extreme, because it is more... It's tilting more towards an all-in. It's just very dedicated. It is a more dedicated build. Aggressively to the dedicated defensive build that is a 3cc. The 3cc really hopes to face something that's middle of the road, that is not aggressive enough to kill it, but isn't on the same level as the macro of it, which is what happened in the first game. But MaxPax should have a good attempt at killing Clem with this 3rd CC figured in. Because yes, the tank production is still rather consistent, but the extra barracks production is later. Smog was innocent, thank you for the 17 months. As the 4 gates starts up, Clem does have a second bunker building in the main. I think that's very necessary. SCV's pre-pulled in the natural. That is very necessary. And his tanks are all types of spread out. One tank to take revenge on the tank that just died. At least got a couple of shots off, but the War Prism Micro was ready. MaxPax kind of predicted that. Loses 2 stalkers and kills a... He definitely killed a tank, but I guess that went to the friendly fire. Funnily enough, that was weird. But he did. No, I mean, he did. Let's just call it... Let's call it the 4-gate. 4-gate killed that tank. But another one's already popped out. No, actually. Still on 2 tanks. It's a little concerning. He fit in a starport before he fit in the other tank. Is that what happened? I think that's what happened. The bio count's getting a little bit bigger. MaxPax, 3rd Nexus, is going to follow up with the Dark Shrine, so I was wrong. I could have sworn he doesn't do this very often. The 4-gate going to go for the bunker now at this point. Tank is not in position to help out. The 4-gate is going to be busted. There's just way too many stalkers. Took a little while, though. Took a little while. Took a couple of extra shots from the stalker ball, which is crucial. 5 SCVs go down. Clem still playing hop around with his barracks. Finally, just moving completely away from the tanks. Onto his combat shields. MaxPax, having moved on as well. The 3rd Nexus is about to finish up. Also going into the War Prism harassment. Did not win with the 4-gate against the 3cc build. And now MaxPax should be in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. He was in trouble in the last 2 games, but his follow-up defense was really quite good. Clem could not pierce through that. But now MaxPax should be in the most trouble. Unless the Dark Templars do a bunch of damage. There is no Raven, and it's very likely there's no Raven, because the Terran wants to get to Medivacs, right? They've already delayed that a significant amount. But it is a 3cc build, so there's 3 possible scans. However, the timing of this is perfect. No scans on the command centers. Seconds away from one, however. 1 DT in the natural should be scanned. Missile turrets go up in the main base. 1 DT in the main base is not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. A missile turret is in the main base, actually. My bad. It was just an anti-War Prism one. And MaxPax's DT follow-up not finding nearly the damage it needs to. 2 DTs kill, Marines? Like 3 Marines? Stalkers were caught out of position. Clem is ready to go. He's ready to rumble. Equally timed upgrades, but Clem has about 40 more army supply. 3 tanks actually existing this time around. No quick snipe on those. And the DTs are only a nuisance. Missile turrets and reinforcements will take care of that. See if MaxPax can finagle his way out of this one. 1 DT at a time, right? 1 DT at a time. MaxPax is up to 70 workers, and his 4th base is about 70% done. His War Prism's still intact, so still threatening run-bys. Clem is still ahead by about 40 army supply, though, and it's a hefty supply lead as well. It's one consisting of very, very powerful units. 15 Marauders, 3 tanks, hopefully more Medivacs soon. MaxPax got that +1 attack. Should be starting up as +1, or +2 attack, actually. He's waiting for both upgrades, perhaps. Getting a double forge. He is on 4 bases. He is on 4 bases. He is solidly set up on the economy. So he could definitely afford double forge. There it is. 2-1 on the way. Stalker's still trying to control the scenario. They aren't really expecting too many more victories. Maybe a Marine. But they want to track the army. Especially now that Zelnaga is no longer under MaxPax's control. Zealots will try and warp in, but Widowmines were placed there, so now only 2 weakened Zealots ready to go. Marines and a Viking pop out to help out against the Warp Prism. The Marines should be targeting that. No, the missile turret in the main base helped out. So that Warp Prism is a goner, but Clem is going to pull back and not risk not paying attention to his army, I think is mostly the problem there. He did clearly have enough reinforcements to take care of everything, but the Warp Prism, maybe he got a warp in, that would have been sketch, and then if he didn't pay attention on the front lines, he could have died to a couple of force fields. So Clem chooses the safe option and pulls entirely back, clearing up the rest of the Zelnagas. He still has that 30 army supply lead. He will have an upgrade lead for 30, 40 seconds, and if he can hit when he's maxed out, that would be perfect. Maxed out with a big, bulky army, maybe some ghosts, better upgrades. That could be it, man. But is he going to hit that exact timing? Maybe. But now disruptors are going to be in play. And we know that adds another dynamic to the engagements. Altitude being such a big map, too, definitely took away some of Clem's counterattack potential. And I'm really scared of this game now. I was really worried for MaxPax, who did not kill a 3CC'er. But as the game settles 5 bases to 4, I'm more worried about Clem. It's not that I really believe that Clem's late game TvP is worse than MaxPax's. It's that I really think MaxPax plays the most abusive way of late game. I would hate it if I was a player. Fortunately, I'm not, so I just get to watch it. When he has a Dark Shrine. His disruptor control in that other long macro game, game 3, whatever it was pretty good. More that he got as many disruptors as was necessary was more so the problem. But, you know, he played that portion of the game out very well. And that was without a Dark Shrine, harassing and distracting. Just go to Warp Prism? Or Warp Prism? Where did that come from? Did he just kill a Widowmine? I don't know why he killed his own Stalker. But anyways, disruptors were off by the right side, just doing absolutely nothing. That was weird. Fortunately, enough of the disruptors were able to cover each other, so kind of worked out, I guess. MaxPax on 5 bases, solid disruptor counts, and the ability to warp in, let's say, 10 DTs with Blink. It's a scary situation for Terran players. Very scary. Roger Slow apparently wasn't upgraded. That's a bit of a mistake, but now it is on the way. Upgrades, evening up as well by the looks of things. 2-1 to 2-1. Clem trying to get to a 5th base and still litter the map with Widowmines for that advanced scouting. MaxPax with 2 observers, neither one with his army, now moving to the front lines. Those are disruptors. Disruptors are hard to work against. Tanks and Liberators help against Disruptors, but only 2 tanks and no transition started to Liberators. Not that Clem has to yet. And it is a very big decision. It's like, where are you going to go to university, you know? It's going to affect the rest of your life. It's a very big decision for Terran players to go into Liberators. They can start some of the transition, they can get their upgrades, they can get the fusion core, but to actually start adding them on really changes the pacing of the TvP. And right now, Clem still wants to find some momentum with his mostly bio-based army. Takes the engagement for the most part on this side of things. Gonna get a canceled Nexus, clean up the pylon, and probably will not be able to engage on this base. And Clem's even assuming that. Not even gonna try. But there you go, +2 ship weapons on the way, fusion core on the way. It's when we see the Liberators actually made that we know that the style of this TvP will drastically change. It'll go from Clem trying to be the initiator, trying to get the engagements going, to mostly being on the defensive. Although he shouldn't be completely passive with it. That is too big of an army on the right side. MaxPax drawing most of his army over here, actually, but leaving his disruptors off the left. This time, protected not by units, but by static defense. Lots of cannons, couple of shield batteries, and Clem is not going to try cracking that one. With Liberators, that would have been a bit easier, but even then, the cannon's annoyingly in place. 60 Ts warped in. Not enough to actually kill a planetary, I don't think. Not if you're paying attention. That's too few, right? And I love the advanced missile turret, just to give him that heads up on the minimap. DTs blink back to the disruptors. Save me, save me. Working out well so far. I love that there's a wouldn't mind spotters everywhere. I love it. So useful. Colossus, even if they are killed, aren't really the biggest deal for MaxPax right now. Obviously, you don't want to give them up for free. A couple of Vikings lose their lives, but it's not... We're not really at that stage where Colossus are strictly needed. If MaxPax never rebuilds them, that'd be totally fine. Clem needs to maybe find some damage with his Vikings on the harassment front, but then also needs to be wary of a potential transition from MaxPax. We're nowhere close to that yet, but the Protoss player could also, of course, be going into air. That is also a decision they have to make, and will change up the pacing of it very much so. Clem dealing with DTs in his main base now. Very annoying. Doesn't have enough reinforcements coming in yet. Forced to entirely back away. No form of aggression on the field anymore. Although Clem is well set up on 5 bases. Looking to get a 6th eventually. Upgrades finishing up too. His army is no doubt powerful, but is now not in position. Clem needs his Liberators actually siege up. You know, that's what they do. They siege up and then they help. At least finds the army at this point. This Observer has been tracking these tanks for the last 5 minutes. Finally, the scan reveals that Observer. Hopefully it will die. No bias. Liberators will defend this planetary, but they're very oddly placed. It's like they're defending against DTs. It doesn't really matter. The rest of the army's coming forward. More Liberators also sieging up on the ramp. That's more so what you want. And Clem thought he even had an opportunity. The Disruptors were left a little bit alone. Not exactly the case. DTs on the right side, completely undefended third base. A tank hardly counts. And this is going to be a big distraction. Liberators forced to re-siege elsewhere. Is a, just APM that sometimes Clem doesn't even have. But he does re-siege. He does get on the ramp, and he does get some reinforcements over to the left. Defends his planetary at the very least. 12 SCVs go down. It's not bad at all in this late game scenario. It's more about the amount of pressure that Clem is feeling. He cannot get all of his bases locked up nice and tight. MaxPax is looking for that missing piece in the armor so he can really drive the knife into it. He's close to finding it too. Close but not yet. Clem accidentally hitting his own command center. You can see the cracks begin to show. So I'm gonna play that song again. But he is holding on. MaxPax, no transition in sight. He is starting up Stargates. Might even start up his +1 air, but then also 11 DTs get warped in, so, still not really fully committing to an air transition. Hardly has the gas for it after 11 DTs being made. And not all of his gas is actually taken. He's fixing that right now. Both of them on a stable enough economy so far, but again, all it takes is that one DT run by or disruptors hitting your army, and then the Terran player, because they are so close to home, could be in a lot of trouble. I'm not saying that this is the Terran army by nature is fragile, is not what I'm trying to say, but rather that their position as defensive as they are is a bit fragile. So if they do get broken, their production gets camped rather quickly. Decent disruptor shot right there, by the way, guys. Gonna try and get some revenge, but doesn't really work out. Second disruptor shot was a thing of beauty. Clem still has Liberators alive and ready to go, and there's not many Stalkers in that particular army for MaxPax. He's down to 6. So either he's gonna rebuild them in 1 second, or he's gonna start building up the Sky Toss. He is gonna start building up the Sky Toss. He sees how many Liberators have been made. He's fearing that he cannot crack Clem's defenses, and if you can't do that with your ground-based army, then you need to get into Sky Toss. 15 Liberators will both be able to defend most of their bases and leapfrog forward. And even the best Stalker control can't stop that. That is so many Liberators. I didn't even notice there were 16 on the field. That is so many. Oh my god. Which means it's really not a whole lot of anything else. 15 Marauders that don't shoot up, 5 Vikings that can be torn down by a handful of Tempests or Carriers. DT starting to do the damage on these attempts at taking further bases, but the Liberator does get sieged back at home. Excellent defense against the DT, and now we got ourselves a base trade. The last chance here from MaxPax to buy that time necessary to get to the Tempests. He's going for it, and it is a good move. Liberators pull back to try and help out, stop the base trade from really turning into a full-on base race, but are they going to be there in time? So far, not even bothering to cover the main base. MaxPax, figuring he's denied access to the main, is going to go ahead and evacuate. His Tempests pop out, but some of them on the forefront, and Liberators unsieged, actually helping to tear them down. The Vikings are, of course, what's really doing the damage. The shield already overcharged Stride. It's best to hold on. But the Tempest count was not big enough, and being effectively camped. Being so far onto the front lines, Clem might have just found his victory. Liberators sieging up, some of them unsieged to help out against the Tempests, finally up to 3. So not all of the Stargates on the front lines, but I guess the ones that were building were. Clem saw that 40 supply lead. The Liberators still helping out. MaxPax did not build up near enough of a Skytoss army. If there's 9 Tempests, it's very different. What kills 9 Tempests here? Not very much. But 3, 2, 1? Tempests, not very impressive. After a 21-minute game, Clem has finally gotten to MaxPax's side of the map and is starting to shut his jaws here. MaxPax is trying desperately to hold on, but he's kind of caught in the mouth of the alligator, and it's just closing in. It's closing in. Liberators, no? Wow, very forgiving alligator, by the way. Clem is going to go ahead and back away, not want to overstep his welcome, but I mean, literally, MaxPax's head was just like flat right on the alligator's tongue, and it just was like a simple, like a chomp, and then it was going to be it. But apparently, MaxPax is going to get to live another day. Maybe Clem was really giving a lot of credit to however many production facilities were still elsewhere. So he was worried he was going to run face first into 9 Tempests all of a sudden. Not actually the case. It was 5 while I was talking. Now it's up to 7, and that's a better number than before. But, I don't know. I think Clem might have been able to push it a little bit longer. He was fearing the increasing count of Tempests. Pulls back, builds up his Viking count. Now it's up to 12. Gets his orbital command sentinel too, by the way. Despite the attempts at run-bys, MaxPax's not been able to tear that down. And once again, Clem is on the offensive. So I guess maybe more like an alligator playing with his food. I think Clem was giving MaxPax a lot of credit, a lot of due credit, for being as good of a player as he is, but the late game will not be won by the Protoss today. Clem will be winning another EPT European Open Cup, continuing to catch up the Hero Marines' lead in medals. This year is the year, guys. Clem will catch up the Hero Marine. But damn if MaxPax does not want to give up here. He is on 4 bases, but keep in mind that the original 3 are out of minerals. His 4th, this was actually his 5th, is also almost out of minerals. And his run-bys are getting weaker and weaker. Fewer and fewer zealots. His actual army supply technically isn't all that bad. 40 army supply, almost 50. You know, disruptors, right? Right? But, should they get that much damage done? No, they should not. Now upwards to 60 supply difference as the run-bys are taken care of. And now this is a forward planetary. I mean, this one really should not have been allowed to be up and running, but it was while MaxPax was under all that pressure, so he didn't stop an orbital from getting saturated. Great EMP by the looks of things. Blanketed the entire army. MaxPax down 70 supply at the end. 24 minutes just about, and Clem will take game number 5 and the overall series. GG's.